Basically, the movie is about a washed-up musician played by BJ, myself, who finds out that his long-lost son could be the next K-pop star. This idea emerged out of quarantine, actually. I was very inspired by hanging out with my son and his mom were very much into K-pop and the group BTS. And I was like, okay, you know about BTS, but what you know about BET? And they began to show me many things about K-pop and take me to the concerts, and I got really into it. And my son was also into YouTube at the time, and we started doing YouTube skits, and it took me back to when I was doing like home videos with my little sister, and all of a sudden I was staying up till 3 a.m. editing his YouTube skits, and I was getting more into him than him. And then I was like, son, I got it. I'm going to write a movie for us. Like, what do you think? And I think he was like 8 years old at the time. He was like, sure. Like, I wanted to go to school too. And I'm like, all right, we'll get to that. But, 3 years later, here we are at TIFF. And yeah, it was just a lot of work. And I knew I wanted to direct it. And I wanted to really work, close with my son and be able to get some bonding time in and be able to capture those moments that we had on those skits and on film. And so I took the idea to my buddy Johnny Park, and he introduced me to Stampede, and they loved the idea, and we were cooking with grease after that.
I don't know. I was kind of hesitant at first, but first day of filming, I don't know. I just had so much fun. I just kept wanting to do it. So yeah, and there came a point when we were actually gonna scrap the whole idea. I've been taking like dance lessons and acting classes for like a year, almost a year. So I was like, what? What did I do these classes for? we better now, Like, I was just determined at that point. So at first it was hard for me because I was an acting novice, but I did find my rhythm, and yeah, and I got used to it.
I mean, I was on board from the beginning. This is my first project that I produced and wore that producer hat, and it just really was a learning experience from beginning to end. And I got to learn with one of my best friends here, so it was just such a amazing journey, and it was so funny. We got to put so much of our comedy, that stylings that we grew up on. So it was a personal project in that way.
I got involved in the very old-fashioned way of auditioning. I actually got on board very last. I was the last person to jump on. I think the day my deal closed, we had our first table read. So I really didn't know what I was jumping into. I had barely finished reading the script. I had to just quickly make a decision, and I just went, I have some thoughts, but also I've never read a script like this, and there's so much heart. And I was just like, let's go. Let's take a leap of faith. Let's see if this guy.
Thanks.
Let's see if this guy will do it.
I also auditioned. Our casting directors are Emmy Award winners from Beef, Claire Kuntz and Charlene Lee. And I have a long-standing relationship with them. So when they sent me this project, I thought, man, this is going to be an SHIT ton of work. But I took a look at the script, and it was just so heartfelt and funny. And the character Diamond was just this character I've never really played before. The Korean was going to be incredibly difficult because it's show dialogue, and I'm a Korean American. But mostly, I have children that are biracial. And to see a film like this to cross cultures through the universality of music, also at the helm, to have 8-time Grammy Award winning Anderson Paak, I was like, yeah, count me on board. And thankfully, yeah. And I do think the most important thing is that kids, people, biracial, everything, you're not just one or the other, you're both. You're not, you straddle this fence of cultures, but you are both. It's very synonymous of our times right now.
My manager sent the script over to me, and it was called K-Pops. And I immediately was so attracted to this story because it resonated with my life story. I come from a K-pop boy band background. That's how I started my career. I lived both in America and in Korea throughout the whole K-pop process, throughout the training and also debuting in a boy band and touring all over the world. So this story really resonated with me, and just Anderson, his just like getting to have the privilege to work with someone like with Anderson was just like a dream come true moment for me. I was like, mom, dad, I made it. Like this is the pinnacle of my career. So I really just loved how he perfectly knitted the two cultures together. It's a first of its kind story. We don't really get to come across these kind of stories in Hollywood, especially for me as a Korean American. It really just, I almost teared up while just reading the script, and that's when I knew I had to be like bring my experiences to the table, and bring the authenticity to it.
Yeah, no, it's very deep and it's very complex, and there's a lot of work and dedication that goes into being a K-pop idol, and a lot of sacrifice. And I found that there's a lot of similarities and a lot of places where it is like comes from and inspired from within American music, within R&B music, and even in hip hop as well. So shout out to Kayla Amazon, my co-writer. She in the middle of breaking down how to write a script, she was giving us K-pop 101 lessons about the different groups that originated the whole scene and producers, and also the different roles that the people play within the group with the visuals and the leader and the main dancers and all that stuff. So I started immediately seeing that it had so many similarities to American pop music and American pop bands such as like Jackson 5 or New Kids on the Block, or someone mentioned B2K earlier. And yeah, it was, I just saw it right away, and I just thought it's like so interesting how when other cultures do their take on American music, how it can create such a phenomenon, and I've seen the same thing happen when the Beatles came to America, or the Stones, and so on and so on. So I was thinking that this movie could offer some teaching lessons within it. So I wanted to kind of try to thread that throughout. I just had so much fun, and just got so much joy with like creating a bond with my son, like with doing these YouTube skits and just being there for him, and like learning about what his interests were and doing things together. And within that, I was able to teach him certain things, and he was able to teach me certain things. And I love how I was able to use K-pop as a vehicle to be able to like tell a little bit of my story. And I just hope people get the same amount of joy and have as much fun and feel as good as I did when I was making the movie.
I just think walking away from this, what I love the most is that this is a love letter to Seoul. And it's so touching, and that you're going to have this moment in time encapsulated. And I hope people come to see this. It's truly a heartfelt family comedy with such hard laughs and the sickest soundtrack ever. I mean, come on, 8-time Grammy Award winning. Yes. It's like all of the things. We haven't had a movie like this in a long while. And thank you, Seoul, for persevering.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that the whole cast is Black and Asian, and this is a story told through a Western lens, which is amazing. And that wasn't even necessarily intentional. While we were just casting, these are the people who are part of the story. And yeah, there's so much heart, there's so much original music that I love in it, and I do think just the bond that Anderson and his son have in the movie is something that people will kind of see in the teaching lessons intergenerationally, far as music goes. And there's nothing that bonds people more than music. So this is just a great way of bridging those gaps through music.